Hey there, this is Daniel West from delandartie. I have the privilege of guest designing for Wow Embossing Powders this month, January 2020, and I have been having a lot of fun with the Trio Confetti embossing powders. Now these are a mix of metallics and very beautiful colors. You see the three different names, Fizz, Bang, and Pop. I did a project last week for the blog with the Bang, and this week I am going to do a project with the Pop embossing powders from this trio. But I started this project by getting out my dies. This one is the burst die from Simon Says Stamp, and a set of alphabet dies from Concord and Ninth called Tall Alphabet. I like these because they're thin and tall letters, and you can fit lots of letters on a single card. So I had them die cut already, and I'm not going to show you that on camera, but I did die cut the letters LOVE in advance. And now I'm just going to take the YOU out of this die. It's also from Concord and Ninth, and I will link those items in the description box below in the video. Now I'm using Neenah Solar White 110-pound cardstock, and this is the little container of beautiful, beautiful embossing powder. I'm going to line this up and tape it down with some purple tape. Now I'm not just going to die cut this any old way. I'm going to put it right in the center because I'm going to use the negative space as well as the positive space on this. I'm just going to pop this die cut right out of the center. I ran it through a couple times through my GEMINI Junior, and now loosening it up, I realized that I needed to take a craft knife to it, and so I had to just find a few places in there with my knife and do some surgery there real quick. Once you've taken the die off, you don't want to pop it back in because you'll just actually create kind of an outline of your die again. I don't know if you've ever done that or not, but I have. So I just cut it out with my X-Acto knife and was able to pull it out and set it free. Now we're going to heat emboss this die cut. This beautiful burst is perfect for solid embossing, so I'm going to just press it down into my Wow embossing pad. Wow embossing ink is a sticky kind of ink, and it stays wet. It's wonderful. I've enjoyed using it over the last month. You just press that in everywhere, get a nice solid coverage for embossing this die cut. I wanted to go over and make sure I had the center well inked. Then put it on a piece of scrap paper and pour out that embossing powder on top of it. Get it nice and covered. And then with a pair of reverse tweezers, I'm going to pull it up out of the embossing powder. Careful not to shake all of the extra chunky pieces of this embossing powder off. And now with a nice and hot heat gun, I'm going to gradually come close to this and then melt it. I don't want to blow off those chunky metallic pieces. So just carefully start melting from a distance and then come in close, and there you have a beautifully embossed, melted orange and silverish looking burst. I think it looks fantastic against this white Neenah Solar White cardstock. So I'm not going to do anything else with this cardstock. I'm just going to glue it onto the front of my A2 size card base. A2 is 4¼ inches by 5½ inches. I'm using some Hero Arts precision glue there, and just make sure that the negative space is nice and adhered to the card base. Now, in order to keep the card base from popping up, I just put some easy dots in there. And they're removable adhesive dots, and it keeps my card flat as I work. Now, I used some more of that precision glue and only glued the center of this burst down because I want to pop those burst lines back into their hole, and then some of them I'm going to pop up and pull up out of the hole so that there's some dimension to this card. Now, once I have them lined up and glued in there, it's just going to be a sec to die cut the YU out of that die, and then line up my words, and we're almost finished. So I glued down the L first and then put the E down, and then was able to space the other letters out. You can see me adding some glue to the backs of these letters and then dabbing them off onto my glass mat so that it doesn't squeeze out of the sides of the letters. I only did it on the big letters. And here we have some clear hearts here that with a matching color from Trinity Stamps. I'll link those as well in the description box below. And I just array them. I take an odd number out and array them across this front of the panel and finish up my card like this. I hope you've enjoyed this little project. I really love making the card, and the results is just fantastic. Maybe you want to pause that screen just to get a good look at that embossing powder. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you'll consider subscribing to this channel and look in the subscription box for how to connect with me on social media.